Trump did some prison reform and then got wailed on it for it because it was bad. I feel like Republicans in principle aren't the party of prison reform.
They're not. They don't care about solitary confinement. And it's crazy because we have the political prisoners.
Right. I was going to say, maybe they'll care about it more in the wake of all the January 6th prisoners.
Most of the people in jail aren't political prisoners, though. Most of the people in jail are just criminals and deserve to be there, frankly.
I would say that is absolutely correct, but I do think the amount of political prisoners that exist is way more than people realize.
Yeah.
Extending well beyond J6.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of, there's probably tons of stories of some dude who's in New York, LA, or whatever, and they know that there's a politician who's doing something wrong, and the cops just at their house. I remember reading about Bakersfield in California. Some dude had evidence of police impropriety, and so they kept trying to find ways to get the crime on him and then lock him up, and they did. These kinds of things happen a lot. I'm a big fan of prison reform. I think Trump was on the right track with it. I want to see more of it. We'll see, though. I think if you were to have a sit-down conversation on prison morality, private versus public, etc., you're going to get garbled, insane nonsense from the left and hypocrisy.
I think prison reform sounds nice on paper, but let's be specific. When we're saying prison reform, you guys don't believe in lowering sentences for violent offenders, right?
No,
I think violent offenders get sent to an island.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
No, that sounds like prison reform the other way. I agree with you.
I mean, like fixing the Federal Bureau of Prisons, you have dilapidated buildings that are falling apart. You have a high suicide rate. There's a lot of problems in the prisons as far as like human rights issues. That is something that everybody should agree on. They need more staffing. They're understaffed. The staff that they have a lot of issues. They have addiction issues, mental health issues. They have spousal abuse issues. There's a lot of issues with the federal BOP that should be fixed. From a bipartisan perspective, I wouldn't see any issues with that.
I'm sure the jails are extremely corrupt. I've never been, but
my prison reform is we should abolish maximum security prisons completely abolish them. If you commit a crime that qualifies for a supermax or maximum security, you go to the island. And the island will just be one of thousands of different islands. So if you're a violent offender, we say you have been excised from society for your violent offense through due process, through evidence, we prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And then we say, you're free to go to this island and nowhere else. And good luck. You survive. You're on your own. I don't see why we're paying for you. I don't see why.
More humane than an actual prison.
I don't think
it is more humane. Absolutely. That's the point.
Yeah.
You're telling them we're breaking up. You've wronged us. So we are saying all the things we build, all the things we sustain, and all the rules we agree to follow, you don't. So you can go live on an island. And there's fish in the water, and there's critters running around. There's deer. I'm not talking like a tiny little rock. I'm saying like, a couple, like maybe a square mile or something. And then how many people can reasonably live on it? Good luck. That's why I say maximum security. White collar crimes, we can keep those prisons. You don't need much. It's many of these places are like golf courses you can't leave. And so you're caught committing financial crimes. Okay, you're going to timeout. We're cutting off your access to the internet. You're gonna wear the white jumpsuit. You're gonna hang out, watch soap operas. Nobody's concerned about you hurting anybody, but you did kind of screw with the system. So there you go. And then for a lot of what we see on the streets, mental illness, mental asylums. So we got to stop wasting money on these prisons. A guy in a major city who joins a gang and then kills somebody. Why are we being like, okay, now we're going to go send you to hang out with your gang to learn more how to be a gangbanger? I'd be like, island.
Yeah. It's never made sense to me. And I do think, to your point, like right now, because we don't have any alternatives, don't have asylums, we sort of just lump a lot of people together, and it creates these very crazy systems. I mean, when you talk about, some of the violence data that comes out of it, people will always ignore it because they're like, well, the power structure in prison is very weird. But it's like, so then why is this what we're maintaining? Like, if any of this, like I agree, violent offenders, you need to take it really seriously. But I also think that if the objective is to rehabilitate people, we're clearly not doing that. And so it seems like this is a system that everybody is pouring money into, the taxpayers especially, that we are not seeing results from. Like there should be accountability there.
So someone said,
rates.
Where's that chat? I just missed it. Oh well. Someone said, did Tim just realize he's created Cannibal Island? I just want to stress, I want you to understand, if we all live in this society, whether we want to or not, you're born into it, and there are rules that we follow, some written, some unwritten, and we all agree, you know what, we're going to do our best to get along. And then y'all come around with a gun and, like, I don't know, shoot a pregnant lady to steal her purse. You have agreed you don't care for the rules that we do. So we say to you, good sir, we are going to exile you. That's what we used to do back in the day. Like hundreds of years ago, exile was like a serious punishment because you're on your own. Good luck. Don't come back. I'm good with that. Probably more humane than locking them in prisons where we joke about how they're going to get raped. Now we can be like, your worst case scenario is you have no access to our roads, to our clean running water, to our showers and air conditioning, to our stores, but you're free to live somewhere else. And if you call that Cannibal Island because that's what they end up doing, I don't see why that's our problem. Everybody who lives here has the opportunity to abide by the rules, and if they don't want to, what do you think is more humane? Locking them in a cage where we joke about them getting raped by other people, where they could become hardened criminals and join gangs, or go live the way humans lived 1,000 years ago. You're on your own.
In my experience, criminal justice reform has kind of just been a Trojan horse for anarchy. At least in my experience in New York City, criminal justice reform candidates are usually George Soros DAs. Yeah. It works in conjunction with that, where they plead down and whatever charges are.
It's like a narco tyranny.
Yeah, which is a bad thing, which is why I'm actually against criminal justice reform. And then we see the way that it affects, in principle, again, it sounds nice, but then in practice, I feel like it always ends up going wrong. It ends up to things like bail reform and cashless bail that we have now in New York City, which again, in principle sounds nice, but leads to more violent crimes happening on the streets. So like on principle, I think it sounds nice, but in practice,
tell me how my prison reform would not result in a reduction of crime.
It's used as a euphemism, though. The politicians who say they are for criminal justice reform are George Soros. Yeah,
then stop using their language.
Okay.
If the ideas we're attempting to convey are how do we fix the prison system, don't use the language of the left, and then
we need law and order DAs. We need not DAs focused.
I don't think that solves the problem. I think the idea of taking a 17-year-old kid who murdered someone to join a gang, putting him in a prison where he then joins the gang, which is in there,
learns to be
and they say,
criminal.
Here's how you work in the system, here's how you work outside the system, here's how our gang operates inside and out. Part of the gang operates inside and makes money doing so. I'm like, there's a reason why these people don't fear prison. Because prison is just another component of how their gang operates.
If the alternative is island, I'm with you. If the alternative is, which is what most people do when they talk about criminal justice reform, is only giving him 10 years or 15.
What about bringing back like medieval forms of like they used to have the stacks, they used to have other things.
We could really be creative about this.
I think
I disagree.
No, but for real, like for people who were non-violent offenders or drug offenders, they throw them in prison. They don't get the rehabilitation that they need. Why not do something different, more creative?
I think the island is the most humane, and I think the island makes the most sense. The reason being, if someone is innocent, all you're really doing is saying, like, we're breaking up. Like, I'm not going to give you my stuff anymore. So the worst case scenario is it does suck to get exiled, but if you're innocent, at least no one's putting you in the stocks or whatever. No one's locking you in a box where you might get raped. You just have to figure out how to make a fire. And, I do think, I'll clarify this too, because I was talking yesterday, the island doesn't just mean a desolate island. I'm talking about very, very basic infrastructure. We figure out how many people can reasonably be sustained on it. And there's a big building with like bunks. And then you guys sort it out. You want to be violent? You want to kill some woman because you stole her purse? You guys can go figure out. You want to join a gang? But so how about this? This is what they do. These gangs will go to a minor, a 15-year-old. They'll give him a gun and say, this guy is on our hit list. You go take care of him because you're only going to jail for 3 years. And then when you get out, because you'll be a minor, here's what you're going to say, the gang made me do it. Then they're gonna put you in juvie for a couple years. You get out, then you're one of us. How about this? Sorry, dude. Island. A 15-year-old. Island. You killed somebody. Well, I suppose it's fair to say if you're a juvenile, there will be still some extenuating circumstances for, do we really blame the kid? But we cannot let that kid join the gang and go back to where they came from. So then I think the answer would be, for juveniles who do these things, they get exiled to other parts of the country and they have no communication orders with those other people or something like that. But I think for any adult that's engaging in this behavior, if you were to ask me, it's like, hey, you've been falsely accused of a crime. You can get locked in a box where people are joke about how you're about to get raped, Or island. I'd say island. 2 seconds. I will go fish. I will fend for myself. Right? So the issue with medieval forms of punishment, which gets into the cruel and unusual, which I don't necessarily agree always is that sometimes there are innocent people that are wronged, but I'm not wronging you. I don't think our society is wronging you by telling you that you're not welcome here anymore. Like, if someone goes in your house and takes a dump on your floor, you can kick them out.
Right. It's like saying it's a privilege to be a part of our community, and if you abuse that privilege by violating our laws or, attacking other people, you don't get to be a part of this.
I will say this. I can tell you this for a fact. One guaranteed way to reduce crime would be to make the punishment for aggravated crimes: you are paraded around the city in a diaper. You are made to crawl and goo goo gaga and say, I'm a stinky baby, while everyone gets to film you. I'm not kidding. Mm-hmm. When I'm hanging out with these kids, I'm in LA or whatever, they say things like, I haven't gone to jail yet. They do not fear jail at all. But what I can tell you is a lot of the shootings that happen, which we think is gang violence, is actually honor retaliations. Some guy goes on social media and insults another guy, so him and the boys show up at his house and they get revenge. They say, don't you insult me, right? These guys would not engage in a crime if they knew the punishment was they're going to be blasted out on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram in a diaper, being made to crawl and told to beg in front of all the people pointing and laughing at them, saying, goo goo gaga, I'm a stinky baby. They'd be like, dude, I'm not getting caught, dude. I will not do that. That is it. You will never be hard again. You will be made fun of. You will never escape that for the rest of your life. That would terrify people. I'm not advocating we do that. I'm just explaining the current jail system is not a deterrent. It does not disincentivize.
It sounds like what we used to do to the tax collectors, the tarring and feathering, almost. Kind of a version of that.
It is, yeah. I just think there's a lot of young guys who they want street cred. They go to jail and they brag about what they've done. Ain't nobody going to be bragging if they're like, I know what you did, goo goo gaga me stinky baby.
Right.
Dude, you got no cred anymore.
It's shame as a deterrent because otherwise you say, oh, yeah, I did this crime and then I made it through prison and I'm so tough and whatever else. You're kind of reinforcing this image that they have created for themselves and they need to project to be involved in, criminal activity.
For a lot of these people, going to prison is a point of honor. They get tattoos. They mark down how much time they've done and they brag to each other. You don't know what you're talking about. You haven't done time. Well, take away his time and put him in a diaper and see how much he brags about it. He's going to be like, look at my Instagram feed. Look at me wearing that diaper. You don't know what I've been through. People are going to be like, dude, are you kidding? Nah. No, but they'd be terrified for that to happen. And you got to make sure you're changing it up. It's not always the putting him in a diaper and making him crawl through the street. It's just varying things like that,
I think there's something about our justice system that we don't do cruel and unusual punishments, and we give people some basic rights. And even some of the worst criminals in our country, we're not willing to. We barely do the death penalty. It's unkosher in most states. Even in Guantanamo Bay, we don't even kill the people who we think are some of the worst criminals in our.
Our whole jail system is cruel and unusual.
Exactly.
It is a joke that men get raped in prison.
Yeah.
I think rape in prison is wrong.
It's the fact that we know it happens as a society, people laugh about it online, shows that our system is cruel and unusual. It is in violation of the Constitution.
The whole thing.
If that's the case, I tell you this, which would you prefer? 10 years in a maximum security prison, or you got to put the diaper on and we're going to parade you around and you say, goo goo gaga, I'm a stinky baby.
If you're in for murder and all you have to do is go around town in a stinky diaper. And
no, murder's different. Murder's the island.
Okay, murder's the island. Well, you're getting raped on the island too.
No, you're not.
Why not? There's going to be a mass. Yeah, it feels like. Well, that's what happens in regular jail too.
What you're saying, what you're saying is the island, as I view it, is nature.
I was thinking more Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh,
that island has nothing on it.
Oh,
I'm talking an island
where sexual crimes were committed. Yeah.
You live in the middle of nowhere and you're in the wilderness. You figure it out. Okay. If you think you're gonna get raped walking around the woods one day, then don't go to the woods. If we take a bunch of violent offenders and put on an island, then you're gonna have a bunch of creepy weirdos and violent offenders. But I tell you this: the people who are there for rape are probably going to not do so well because the rest of the guys are going to team up and be like, nah. So the reason I bring up the island thing is because there's already been research on it. And it's dramatically reduced criminal behaviors. When they forced violent criminals to readapt to survival, learning how to set up a fire, find food, and take care of themselves. It consumed them. It took away their time and energy towards these
That's
violent behaviors.
interesting too.
Yeah.
Like giving them something that maybe makes them feel like they have a purpose. I don't know.
I think it does make a big
I think
difference.
that matters, though. I think everybody needs to feel like they have a purpose and that they're doing something that contributes in some way.
Yeah. When people have no choice but to work to survive, then it changes you.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to, on an island where there's like, let's say there's 10 guys and they're fishing. You can try and steal someone's fish, but then they're going to fight you and you're not going to be able to do it. So it's like, now you're in this position where you're the only people who are around you are people who can fend for themselves for the most part.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.